Yeah, we're just a little delayed today. Sorry.
No worries. Same here. Okay, wonderful. Okay. So this is, I would say, a calendar schedule for when reports and invoices are due. So I wanted to go through each of the columns, and just as a preface, it might just take some time for all of this to sink in. So just wanted to let you know, I will the MER team, the monitoring, evaluation, and reporting team will be here to assist you because we understand questions will likely come after today's meeting. So I'm going to start just with the most left column. So this whole document is a couple of pages. So it's going to be separated by year 2 and 3 of the contract. So you'll see that it goes all the way until the time frame of the whole project. And we just put some subject to change language here on the final report, which will provide more instructions later, which will be due around May 2026. And then, as I mentioned, there are 3 types of reports. There's a monthly, quarterly, and semi-annual. The quarterly is the middle length one, and the semi-annual is the longest version of the report, and the monthly is a short version of the report. For report due dates, you can expect that, think of it this way, there is a report due monthly with an attached invoice for this cost reimbursable program. And then there's going to be months where you'll have both a monthly and a quarterly or semi-annual. And for those months where, so say for example, December 15th, kind of retroactively, you'll have a monthly still due for reporting period of November 1 to November 30th. That would have, and I changed some dates here already based on the conversation. I'm changing the report due date to the 15th. And at this time too, there was also a quarterly report. So just wanted to note when there is those 2 types of reports due. For the monthly report, we asked you to only complete sections 1 to 4, just to give you guys a break, because we know there's a lot of reporting. So just wanted to let you know when there's 2 reports due at the same time for the monthly, we've even shortened that short report to even make it even a quicker task for you all. So you'll see the report due dates. I'll change these to the 15th for the monthly reports. And then for the quarterly and semi-annual, these ones will not have an invoice attached because you are already attaching an invoice to the monthly. So I would just kind of follow to make it very clear when the invoice is due. It's always going to be due monthly, and when you complete the quarterly or semi-annual, you don't have to attach another invoice to it. It's just a report. And the reason why we have the quarterly and semi-annual is because those are the data in that format that we need to send to our vendor CDSS. I'm going to pause there real quick if there's any questions so far.
Yeah, I'm just no, that's great. Thank you so much. Just want, are you planning to go? I guess I'm asking ahead of the meeting, go over the details for the reporting,
Yeah,
how the
yeah,
report. Okay, perfect.
yeah.
Thank you. That was my
I'll
next
click
question.
on, yeah, it'll make more sense when you actually see the reporting
Thanks.
platform. Yeah, and before I jump into there, so there's going to be 2 types of links. One is for the monthly report, and if I click here, the green, you'll see a reporting platform with um, with green text, and it'll obviously say monthly progress report. And if you click on the blue one, which is used for quarterly and semi-annual, if you click there, it'll lead you to similar looking report, different title, and most of the text here is blue, so I wanted to just differentiate those with color. So there's 2 types of links. And these are just repasted each time on this column. So like this link is the same as this, is the same as this. Just wanted to They're not different links per reporting period. It's the same green link throughout and the same blue link throughout. Before I jump into the reporting platform, correct me if this is inaccurate, Diana and Susan. So what we asked for you kind of retroactively to complete is going to be this report, which I'll go over. It would have been due December 15th, and it's a monthly report for November 1 to 30th. But we also asked you to complete the quarterly, which would have been reporting period October 1 to December 31st. And this third one, correct, Diana, because this
Yes,
is tomorrow.
those are due now. Even if you had no expenses in November, we would ask that, send us an invoice because your contract date does list November 1st. Put 0 expenses, so we've got that on file. And then I know you indicated you started in December, so today's the 14th, and I know this is the first time, so as you can, I would, send us the monthly report for December 1st through December 31st. It's due tomorrow, but we understand it's your first report, so, do what you can to put, the invoice together, because it's your first time. Well, after you do the November one, if you have 0 figures. So we do need both of those invoices this week if you can.
And Susan, is it okay because they will complete the quarterly report with whatever information that you guys have, Church World Service? But is it okay if they still only just complete questions 1 through 4 for this monthly report, Susan? Since this is gonna encompass that already. Is that still
Yes,
okay? Okay.
that's fine. As long as you capture what you need, Debbie, we have no problem with it.
Okay, great. Let me go ahead and jump in. So, into this report, the green one for the monthly report. And let me just check in for Church World Service. Do you guys have any numbers for participants? Because some agencies are able to serve folks early on, and it's okay if it's 0. This will just help me how to complete this report.
I'm at 0.
Okay, perfect. Okay, it'll be very quick for you then. And it'll just give you a quick exercise how to complete these monthly reports moving forward anyhow. So when you click on the link, it's a public access link, so you don't need a login or a password. So if I were you, I would go ahead and choose the reporting period. So it would be the November, if I'm looking at the schedule, this is for the first month, November. So I'm going to click that. And your CBO name. And it asks some administrative contact information there. These are the 4 main parts of the report that you will complete monthly, except for the months where you have 2 reports due. But I'm going to go through it comprehensively so you guys know what to do moving forward when you do have to complete all of these sections. So the first section is program staff updates during this month's reporting period. It's very straightforward. This is an open text question, so list any existing personnel who's supporting the program, including any changes and so forth. And then we're moving on to section B, so there's only 1 question up there for section A. For section B, there are 2 questions. So based on your work plan, you're going to summarize the services activities implemented during the month's reporting period. So even if you haven't directly served participants, if you have any development progress updates, creating curriculum or creating policies and procedures, training staff, we ask that you go ahead and include those in. Moving forward, when you have more updates, like specific updates per service activity category, we ask you to complete this question using these 5 bullet points, which matches the planned services activities on your work plan. I'm just going to put some pretend text here, so I'm going to pretend to submit it, and you'll see that if you miss some text, it won't let you submit it. Another note before I move on to the second question on section B is that you have to complete it in one sitting for it to save and for it to successfully submit. So if I scroll down, this is kind of, it's not that long. These are all the questions you'll need to submit for monthly report. There's no save function, unfortunately. So we advise you to have all the data that you need, like pasted on a Word doc so you can go ahead and easily save on a Word doc so you can easily copy and paste it into the portal. And it won't save until you actually hit submit. So just wanted to mention that. And only one person can be working on it at any given time. You can't have one person with a link working on it and another one. It doesn't save that way. Okay, so section B, question 2. Back to your work plan, we're asking you to summarize any services activities implemented with any subcontractors or any key highlights with external organizations you have collaborative partnerships with. We don't need full essays for these. In fact, bullet points are great. And for this section too, I know there's a 619 word limit there. Some organizations need all that space, but straight to the point, bullet points, brief sentences are actually what we need, especially for a monthly report. As brief as you can get and straightforward is actually actually better. I'm going to pause there before I get into the numbers section if there's any questions. Okay. Section C, okay, so this is like 70, you're already like 50% done with the report. So you're in section C, and this is where the quantitative data comes in. So this is where on a monthly basis, you will only provide the number of just to summarize all this text here, you're only providing the number of newly enrolled students, student participants, and family members of those students that are newly enrolled within that reporting period. So I know you guys are at 0, but say you guys had newly enrolled participants, we only want to know who was newly enrolled within that month's period. So we don't need your cumulative. There might be months where it's 0, that you guys didn't enroll anyone new. And when we say enroll, meaning they started accessing services within that month's period noted here. And this will change each month. And let me go ahead and summarize these. We ask that you only count the individuals, the students whose eligibility has already been verified by your staff and whose documentation has been collected per CDSS requirements. So if you have participants you're serving, but they have pending documentation and eligibility, they haven't handed it to you, you cannot yet count them officially here. You can maybe put a note up here like, hey, we've served 50, but they're pending eligibility. You can put a note in this section, but we really ask that you only place the ones whose documentation has been verified. And then family members, you'll see here, it includes a range of people connected to the student. It's parents, grandparents, it could be legal guardians, primary caregivers, spouses, and siblings. And just as a reminder, the family members, only the eligibility verification and the storage of these documents are only required for the student youth, who's a primary participant of the program. You don't need to verify the family's documentation as long as the student's is. And this is just attestation. Any questions there regarding the numbers for the monthly report? Okay. And then this is from Diana's instructions. Once you've completed the invoice for the month, you would attach it here. And I'm just going to put some pretend numbers so I can submit it over. And I'm going to attach a pretend file. And it won't let you submit if any of these are all required fields. So for your purposes, let me just submit this, but
So Debbie, the period didn't fill in the time period up above, so I just wanted you to know before it didn't work for you.
oh, perfect. Oh, right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, nice catch.
I'm better at paying attention to other people's work than my own.
Okay. And I'll just put my email, and you know that it's submitted because you'll get this. So I'm just going to refresh because if I'm looking back at the schedule, this is a month. December would have been a month where you have 2, so you're actually not going to fill all of that in. So I know looking at this, you're only going to complete section C, sections 1 to 4, so just the number section, which is going to be really quick because it's going to be 0. So let me go ahead and refresh this if it'll let me. If not, I'll re-click here. Take that out. Okay, so for purposes of the expi reports Susan mentioned, you'll still need to complete all of these. And your name. And then I would put some information here. Today's date. Even if you're not, so you're gonna skip this, but you're still gonna put NA because we don't need it. And you're gonna put here NA, unless you want to place something there, but we ask because it's two reports for this for December. You just need to complete this section, but we just ask for those fields. You can just put NA because it won't let you submit unless you put some text here. So we would just put 0, 0, and that's it for the month. So it'll take you very quickly. I think the invoice will just, if you have expenses, then yeah, then you attach the invoice here. So that's what you would have to do for this line item here. And then now, like, I'm going to pause again. If there's any questions, I'm going to go over the quarterly report, which is longer, which we asked you to do complete as well.
I just want to clarify, it's the invoice and all the backup
Mm-hmm.
for the invoice.
And Susan, for this section, do you want the invoice and the backup documents in one file, or does it matter if it's in separate files? They could be separate files here, but if there's a preference.
You know what? It could be 2 separate files, like the invoice and then all the backup documents in another file put together. You know, I mean, it depends on what your expenses are. You could have 20 pages of, detail, between your general ledger activity and invoice copies. So,
Okay.
I have a question. If we submit the invoice through this platform, should we still submit it through the email?
no, no, only you were doing the first invoice directly to me. All the other invoices now will go through Smartsheet.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then okay, we can try, I guess, thank you so much. We can test it out, right? Sorry, I just didn't see. We all should have access to this?
Yes,
Or
yeah. We'll send you the we're gonna PDF this over, and when you click on it, it should just pop up. There's no login or password.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before I jump into the quarterly report? Okay. I'm going to zoom through some of this because the quarterly report is inclusive of many of the monthly reports. So for your purposes, okay, it'll be a quarterly, the reporting period is October 1 to December 31st. So I'm going to click, just don't click on semi-annual because it's much longer and that's not due yet. So I'm going to click on quarterly. For this longer report, you need to click on 3 items before all the questions show. So right now you won't see any questions, but for the questions to appear, you need to click on semi-annual or quarterly. For this purpose, it's quarterly. You're going to click on ERC and the reporting period that I saw in the reporting schedule, which is October 1 to December 31st. And then Yes, and then all the questions will appear for the quarterly progress report. Okay, so let's go click on yours. I believe I added your names already. And then I'm just going to put some pretend text there for now. And today's date. Okay, so there are 5 main sections of the quarterly progress report. The same question from section B that we talked about for the monthly report. This section is also the monthly, it's a data attestation, so these are just check boxes. The program participation totals, and then program participation totals by service activity category and demographics, and then invoice attachments. So section B, I'm going to skip because these are the same questions from the monthly report, but on a for a quarterly reporting period. Section D is just a checkbox attesting that, so we'll probably have to do a separate meeting for this, but part of the program requirements for the ERC program is to collect individual level data, including program and demographic information for each of the participants. And there is a separate Smartsheet workspace that we have pre-built in and can grant you a light. That has a login and a password. It's not for reporting, it's to collect this required individual level data per student and family participant. So I'm happy to set up a separate call for this. If you have your own platforms that can collect this type of information and we give you a list of the data elements, some organizations have really great infrastructure for case management notes and these types of details. You're more than welcome to use that if it's secure. But if not, we're happy to grant you a license for an online platform. Any questions regarding that before I dive into numbers questions on the form? Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of yellow highlights here. And it's because over the times for our other grantees and sub-grantees, these are commonly made mistakes. So we really try to be clear on what we're asking for here. So during the reporting period for our quarterly reporting period, in this case, October 1 to December 31st, it's going to start to get really confusing and annoying because we also have to report stuff from the federal fiscal year. So my guidance for you is just to read each of the questions carefully. Things start to get wonky here. So I'm looking at this section F, and on this section, big picture wise, let me just scroll down a bit. Okay, we're asking for, let's go number 1. We're asking what is the total number of non-duplicated ORR verified students who participated in the program services activities. Obviously, when you're completing this, like this week, these are all going to be 0. So this training is like when you guys do have more numbers, this will make more sense. Say you had students you served, you're going to just put in the number here, including all the students you served within this time period, regardless of their participation start date. And then same with family members. And then number 3 is from this number, we want to know, because family members can include siblings and other, younger family members. We just want to know the number of family member adults served within this reporting period. So those 3 are really important. It dictates the rest of the report. So these are over time when you're serving students, there's going to be some participants who fall off, but we essentially ask who you served, regardless if they started last year or even outside of the reporting period. But if you continue to serve them, we ask that you include them in these 3 fields. I'm just going to put some pretend numbers. any question with those first 3 questions? Non-duplicated here, and we'll share over, we do have a definitions glossary term to guide you in completing the report. For purposes of today, non-duplicated just means regardless of how many times a participant receives services, they're only counted once. So if they received basic connection need support or family engagement for 2 years for the entire time frame of the program, they're only going to be counted once. So that's how we define non-duplicated here. Okay, and then number 4, number 5 in this section is what we talked about. Is we want to know who was newly enrolled within this time period. So the number of ORR verified students who have a participation start date from October 1, 2024 to December 31st. And then same with the family members. And then here you're just attesting that you're only counting for those participants whose eligibility has been verified and documentation has been collected. Okay, so that gives that part of the report asks for kind of grand totals. And then this next section here, depending, so if you put 20 here for non-duplicated ORR verified students who participated in program services in this time frame, you're going to take that total number of 20 ORR verified students, and we ask you to I'll go back to this part. We ask you just to break down that 20 students by gender, grade level, months since arrival to the US. I think that's about for demographics. And then we ask who else has, I'll go over this in a bit, but I just wanted to let you know from that total, we ask those demographics about the students. And then let me go back up here. So on your work plan, I believe it is all the service activity categories that you will be involved in. Is that accurate? If so, okay, here, Tammy, nodding. I see Tammy nodding. If it's all, then you're going to, because you have 0 for purposes of, it's going to be 0, but you still have to complete it. You're going to click on all of them. And what happens is it'll cascade into these questions. So when you do have numbers, we ask you for each of the service activity categories. I know this is a lot. How many of those individuals received connection for basic needs support, whether they're students or family members and staff as applicable. This is technically only referencing for service provider capacity support. So let me clarify above here, we ask it's non-duplicated, but if you have wraparound services, like many community-based organizations, you're likely providing all of these services for all the students or family members. That's usually the case. And if not, that's fine. But let me just go back here as an example. If you serve 20 students in total and they're 15 family members, and just as an example, say each of those individuals received everything, this is how it would look like. It would be 20 here, 15 here. I'm just going to put 0 here, not applicable. Under family engagement, it would be 20 here and 15 here. Under youth engagement, it would be 20 here, and it's okay to duplicate here. School enrollment, 20 and 15. And 0 here. And then say for service provider capacity support, there were no students that were applicable here. There were 0, but say 5 of your staff, it looks like you guys have a big team, were involved in service provider capacity building support because you attend PHI-led cohort meetings and trainings and so forth. So I wanted to let you know that it's okay to duplicate here. If that is not the case for your program, it's that each participant might receive only 2, then these numbers could look different. It could be that, okay, everyone got this. But maybe only a few families got this, family member or students got it, maybe 5 and then 12. And youth engagement, say all the youth got it. And then family members, they're not involved in that. I'm going to pause there if there's any questions, because that's usually where people start to get confused.
I think we're good, Debbie. I just think that, we're going to be asking a lot of questions when we're doing it, because a lot will come up then.
Yes.
So, but it looks easy at the moment, but I'm sure we'll have more questions.
Okay, great. In that case, yeah, I don't want to bombard you too much because it's starting to look scary once I start to scroll down. But these are other questions to report. They're not going to be applicable right now. I'll have you guys read it when you guys do your quarterly. These are not going to apply for a quarterly, so you're just going to put NA here. So if I were you and I'm completing this, these are all going to be 0, obviously. For purposes of this week, these are all going to be 0. Because if you don't put anything on it, this is what's going to happen. It just won't let you, you'll get that error. So for purposes of this week, to get your invoice out and your report completed, complete the quarterly, yeah, and just put zeros. And then if there are updates, progress updates, go ahead and place them as bullet points.
And Debbie, sorry to interject, but it'll be the same as with the monthly report. It doesn't save
Correct.
until you hit submit. So,
Yeah.
and that's a little bit more involved with the quarterly and the semi-annual.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't save, unfortunately, the system. So, I think the key to that is just good internet, connection and just having all your information already, in a separate Word document where you're just copying and pasting from what other organizations have shared. If you already have it on a Word document, you're not thinking on the fly there, it'll take like 10-15 minutes to just copy and paste. I will just ask, once you're done with the monthly and these 2 first ones, which should be quick, if you can let me know, because for you to complete this one, I need to change the platform. There isn't like a, how do I say this? Like a reporting filter where you could see this. I have to change the dates. So let me know when you're done with the quarterly, because you can't start this one. I have to change something. So let me know when you're done with the first 2 this week, and then it'll take me like 30 minutes to get you ready for the platform to be ready with the January 15 report due date for this reporting period. That's a lot for you guys to take in. I will send a separate, not just for you guys, but for the other organizations who are prepping for their semi-annual in March, which we didn't go through, which is the longest report. It just adds on to the quarterly. But I think in the meantime, you guys have enough to sink in for these 3.
Thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate it. And I will mostly be working on these reports. Once we have a team, it'll be, finance, myself, and people on the team. And so I think we, for now, because we haven't finished our hiring,